Mythological.
Ooh, I can work with that. Welcome back to Weebology. Thanks, y'all, for coming back to class. I am your most sage Professor Ricky.
And I am your mythological Professor Ethan.
We transcend time and space. We've already expressed this. We've gone to the bottom of the ocean, to the deepest regions of space, even a warehouse with 2 guys in it. But today, we wanted to do...
And to the summit of the tallest mountain.
We've been
very
everywhere.
Good.
We're very, very good. We wanted to do something today. We've been kicking around the idea for a long, long time. Ethan, would you say we are, in fact, professors of Weebology?
Yeah, I guess I'd say that.
I guess at this point, we better be saying it because...
54 episodes in?
Yeah, we want to make sure that you guys are getting learnt. So today, we did something... Despite all of our transcendence, despite all of our obvious vast experience, something we never thought it would come to, and that is research.
I know, guys. It's like crazy.
I'm sorry to let y'all down like this and actually go and
actually
learn
research something.
So, something we have been, hearing a lot from people, we try to get into the anime space. Anyone listening to this, new or old, know the magic of anime and what it has to offer. But when we're trying to get other people into it and we're like, why is it not for you? What's your thing? What's your angle on why it's not your shtick? And a lot of them says, I just don't necessarily get a lot of what they're talking about. And what it boils down to is we feel that the references of lore and myth in the culture of its initial creation being the Sunrise Land, aka Japan, is basically they don't understand. Yeah, they don't understand a lot of the cultural, the cultural implications of the references made in a lot of these pieces of media and art. In a lot of Western, comics or animations or movies, a lot of the references that they make come from a mythos that we are all so acquainted with, you probably would just assume, oh, it's like this story or like that story. Not the case with anime, I would say.
So it's basically just like a different set of parables, and, obviously everyone has their own mythology creation stories that they're, partial to one way or the other. But obviously, many of these different cultures have their own pantheon of gods. For instance, obviously, most people should know about Roman/Greek gods.
Exactly.
Zeus, all those dudes.
The real OGs.
Yeah. And obviously, we've talked about Nordic gods on this Mother Dunker because that shit cool.
We got a lot of Nordic love in that regard, but we are going
Today we're talking about the Japanese Pantheon.
Yes, the entire kind of mythological implication behind one of the most iconic Eastern anime pieces of work, Naruto. And it's very, very dense with references to Japanese mythology. And what we wanted to do today is kind of correlate some of our favorite powers and references to the actual myth behind what they're referencing in hopes that we all gain a better appreciation for the context in which they're trying to show these parallels between the stories of the past and the works of our future. So,
and shouts to Kishimoto for really keeping it real,
it
man.
Is impressive the amount of things he packs in there, and I know that people that grew up in a Japanese environment and were culturally trained on that kind of thing may have gleaned a lot more from a show like that than maybe a lot of Western audience. Like, oh, nine-tailed fox, that's pretty cool. It's got more than one tail, man.
It's actually got 9 of them, dude.
Oh, what? It's crazy.
Believe it or not.
What the fuck does it mean, though? So we're going to pick out some of our favorite powers.
What does it mean?
A nine-tailed fox is considered to be
Lucky AF, right?
Yeah.
No, it's a calamity.
It's a common symbol of calamity and tricksterism, and it's you see it a lot. That's what the Ninetales Pokemon is based off of, and the QB and some third fox I'm not really thinking of right now.
Finnegan.
Yep. There was that fox lady, Finnegan. There's that fox lady in No Game No Life that had 9 tails. That's the only other one I can really think of.
Did she really?
Yeah. That the queen of the beastmen. She had 9 tails.
Did she have 9 tails? I literally don't remember that. Holy F.
Her little daughter didn't, but she did.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Also, in Akame ga Kill, which is a show we've talked about, there was a Susanoo character, which he'll make a fun little appearance in this episode.
Yes, he will. But you know what? Let's start at the beginning. The true beginning. The Japanese creation myth.
As according to Shintoism.
The true beginning.
Yeah.
So, where do we start, Ethan? Where does the Japanese creation myth begin? Where do we start out?
Like all creation myths, generally it will originate from chaos.
Always chaos in the beginning.
Wow, boom. That's chaos.
Jimmy Cam, sign us up for a gig with FX work for audio.
Yeah, visual FX, brother. So, okay, quickly before I start, I just want to explain where I got a lot of my source stuff from. Because then, my story obviously differed from Ricky's in some regards because I, gleaned the information from a different source.
Yeah.
You had more specifics on some of the earlier generations of gods, and
yes.
Mine kind of starts like once the quote-unquote creation gods became.
Okay.
The book that was referenced heavily is the Kojiki, which is from 712 AD, and it was a culmination of myths generally, not specifically thought to be like a historical text in so much as it's a myth, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's similar to like parables and stuff like that.
So it's not quite holy texts to the Shinto religion. It's more kind of halfway between historical and religious in that way.
It seems more like a literary personification of a oral tradition.
They finally went to the whole writing bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I'm gathering. So, like, most of these things, if you look it up online, generally it's like all of these stories are told through paintings and like tapestries and shit like that, because they're like really into that stuff.
They're into the whole paint game, and they're just like, look at this big bitch, right? Like, look at all the stuff there.
So, actually, a lot of these stories that I'm gonna reference have like genuine paintings of them somewhere that you can just go look up if you want to. Dope. But I also was put on this path by a podcast from Parcast, which is called Mythology, because I'm just a huge mythology nerd in general.
Self-proclaimed.
And in fact, I'm going to throw a couple parallels that I noticed between this story and Greek mythology as well, just because I noticed them, so I thought it would be cool.
And whenever we can, we'll chime in with, if you hear a buzzword of a Naruto power, ding, 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 we'll give you kind of a rundown of that power if you aren't too savvy on the whole Naruto verse like me and Ethan are. It's a little scary what we know about that universe at this point.
I've seen it a few times.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen some Swag Kage videos. I've watched exactly 4. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a master. Continue.
I've watched a highlight.
I watched a highlight or two.
Nick. Okay, so obviously the world started in chaos. There was 7 generations of kami/gods, each becoming more perfect than the last. Then it culminates in the 2 kami of creation, Izanami and Izanagi, the exalted man and the exalted female.
Ding, ding, ding. We have our first buzzwords, Izanagi and Izanami. Now, it's funny that I didn't even realize that these 2 were gods and specific gods of creation, which is awesome because those powers in the Naruto verse are Uchiha power, like very high level powers for the Uchiha clan, which you'll hear that name come up a lot because a lot of the mythology ties into the Uchiha clan. Izanagi allows a user to spend the light of their eye going blind completely before rewriting their own reality, aka creating a new one, which makes a lot of sense. And Izanami allows someone to trap someone in a visual reality loop, which that one gets fuzzy in the lore, that basically once you become a better person and realize the fault of your ways, you can escape it. But both of those powers center around creating new realities, which makes perfect sense in relation to the whole creation god myth. So I like that. I think that's a strong parallel. Some of these are a little weaker, but some of them are very strong. So I like that. So now we have our boy and gal, the duo.
Yeah, so these are the first gods that are depicted as more human-like.
Okay, that's cool.
From this early pantheon. One thing to note, apparently, for Shinto gods, it's more like personifications of like a life force or something like that. So you can have like it's like a physical manifestation of like a tree, a mountain, rivers.
Right.
There's carrot kamis.
You
know what I mean?
There are
It's
carrot
like,
gods?
Yeah, it's like very, very broken down, and it's more like spirits in some regard.
Hell yeah.
So anyway, they fell in love and they produced thousands of kamis as well as the islands of Japan.
Rapid fire kami babies.
Yeah.
I'm here for you, buddy. The sound effects.
So Izanami then gave birth to Kagetsuchi, who is the god of fire, who during birth was inadvertently burned alive by her child and then sent to Yomi, which is the underworld.
This is pretty harsh for just an unfortunate birth situation, right?
Yeah, well, she died.
Right, but still kind of an unfortunate situation that, oh, fuck, I gotta go to the underworld now. I thought I was a god.
Yeah, so Kagetsuchi, which is a buzzword.
Pew, 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 pew.
You forgot about it.
No, I was letting you finish. Kagetsuchi is another Uchiha power used by Sasuke Uchiha after he gets access to both his Mangekyo Sharingan powers, which is the next stage in the Sharingan Eye Kenkei Genkai, the bloodline limit techniques.
Dojutsu.
And what it allows him to do is it allows him to control fire to a very finite point. And his other eye is probably another buzzword coming up here in a little bit, a special type of fire that his other eye, Kagetsuchi, allows him to control with extreme precision. Strong parallel, fire control. Continue.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, in a rage, Izanagi drew his sword, the Totsuka blade, and slew his son Kagetsuchi.
Ding! We have another fucking buzzword. There's so many buzzwords in this. So, I have a little bit of information about the Totsuka blade, as it were. So, in a little more specificity, the Totsuka no Tsukuri, it literally means 10 hand-long swords. It's that exact phrasing is kind of speaking to the family of swords that this is kind of a part of, these broad double-sided swords, broad in this particular term, according to Japanese swordsmanship. And it's a sword found in universe of Naruto, controlled by Itachi's Susanoo, which is this crazy kind of astral armor that allows him pure offense and defense. And this sword allows him to stab and seal away anything it wants to inside of a gourd that it wields, which I'll bring up the gourd a little later when we have a little more context in our creation myth.
Yeah, so just one point on the Totsuka blade, though. So in Naruto, it's basically like one direction, it'll destroy anything.
Yep.
And I think the really cool parallel is only a blade, or like a blade that's insane, could kill a god. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it like makes a lot of sense that in the show they reference the Totsuka blade just like absolutely obliterating whatever it stabs, and it later comes into play again, but just specifically being a sword capable of killing a god, I think is
Which
just
is badass as hell.
Yeah. Pretty chill if you ask me.
Chill, trill, and another word.
So Izanagi went to Yomi to follow his wife. Yomi has like a suffocating darkness, but is overall similar to the main world. Izanagi finds his wife, who says she wishes he had come earlier because she has already eaten from that world, and thus she is kind of bound to Yomi. So,
interesting.
She says, well, let me go talk to the ruler of Yomi, and then, potentially we could leave here together.
Pretty casual.
Because, they're gods of creation, so they're kind of ballers.
Bro, come on. I did the whole creation thing.
Ruler.
That was me.
So in the story I read, it didn't make any mention of who that ruler was. But of course, some of you might know that it's Imma.
Oh, yeah, King Edma. Oh, yeah.
Which happens to be the monkey.
Oh, no shit.
The third Hokage
That's a reference. That's ding, ding, ding. Yeah. That's his familiar almost. That's his summon.
His summons.
That's really cool.
So that's pretty cool. And then also some of the gates from like the Ashura path and like whichever one can do revival.
Oh, I got that unlocked later, my boy.
That is like a picture of Enma actually. Is the picture of that gate. Anywho, so she basically tells him though that he cannot come looking for her and he must not gaze upon her while they're in the underworld.
That's terrifying.
As she's kind of walking away.
Uh-oh.
And so he's getting a little paranoid, a little freaked out.
Right.
And this is the weird part. He like has a comb in his hair. He breaks one of the tines off, sets it afire. So he has like light to go see stuff. And then he actually summoned fire. Kind of chill.
That's also pretty chill,
and
baby.
He goes and he finds her and she like freaks out. She said, I told you literally not to look at it.
Oh, that's right.
And
I literally also just forgot. And he said it like 15 seconds ago.
So she's actually rotted away at this point.
No.
Yeah, so she's like basically.
Guys, this is actually the first time I'm also hearing this, so I am also freaking out with you guys.
So she's rotting, but she also has like devils hiding in her rib cage that he can see.
Huh.
It's like creepy AF.
Huh.
It is madly creepy.
Fuck that.
And so this is quickly one of the parallels to Greek mythology. I thought would be really cool.
Oh yeah.
If you guys know of the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. So of course you do, right?
I think I do. I know. Yeah, Orpheus sounds right.
So Orpheus was like this really exalted guy who was like unbelievable at music. So much so that the gods like got hype on him and sent him this like absolute banging chick, Eurydice.
Yes.
So they basically got married and like she died instantly. Like she was running through the forest and got bit by a snake or something.
Oh my gosh.
And so this guy who's like unbelievably good at music and like he can basically like sway towns, gods, whatever, just with his like
just straight bangers,
his straight medium. You know what I mean? Like he's really good at YouTube videos as well.
What have you got with the eyes? You see with Orpheus? Welcome back.
Yeah. So he actually I think he's a demigod. So like one of the gods is his dad. It's either
nice.
Zeus or
statistically in Greek.
It's probably Zeus. Yeah. And so he begs them. He goes literally up to heaven and he begs them like, let me go down into hell and bring her back.
Right.
So he goes down there and he talks to Hades and Persephone, which is his wife that he stole.
Ass.
And he basically says, look, I'll do whatever it takes to bring Eurydice back with me, back to the world of the living. And he basically sings them a song about love and all this stuff. And these people who live in the underworld literally are moved to like
heavenly tears almost.
Like, yeah, not tears because they're like dead and stuff, dead inside. But they're so moved that they decide they'll give him a chance to redeem himself. So the way that he has to do it is he has to walk all the way back out of hell with her walking behind him without ever looking back at her.
This I remember. Okay. Yes. That piece, not the whole thing. Just that piece.
So he can hear footsteps and that's all. So they walk all the way to the gates of hell or back to, the world of the living almost. And right at the end, he just can't help himself. He turns around and he looks at her, and then obviously she flies all the way back to hell. And so basically, I just think it's interesting. So in most of these mythological stories, they do a lot of like parables and stuff like that. And specifically, this one would be like patience, trust.
Exactly. A test of will.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think what's really interesting, at least from my Shintoism,
aka Shinto wisdom.
Holy shit.
Ooh.
That was really good. Research is that
bars.
A lot of these are like pretty clear because the gods are like vain and they have like a lot of like personified traits of humans. Right. Like they piss each other off, they fight, they do all this stuff.
They have no pit. Yeah, they're just like totally driven by
they're humans,
instincts.
just insanely strong.
Yeah, right.
So like I just thought that was really interesting because that's like literally a direct.
Yeah. And like, that for you kids is a tasty tangent.
Yeah, tasty tangent. So, like I said, he was impatient and she gets all pissed off. She sends the little demons in her chest to go after him. And then he's basically dropping food as he's running back to heaven.
Oh yeah.
Or back to the real land of the living.
Right.
And to kind of distract all these demons and things. But then she finally catches up to him, and she's not going to get distracted by food and shit.
Right.
She's literally a god.
Perfect.
And he basically, right as he gets out of hell, he closes this big ass boulder over hell.
Hell yeah.
And he's thinking to himself, like, okay, we both love each other. Like, this is so sad. And he, like, you know, is like stroking the rock or whatever, thinking she's doing the same thing. And so she yells at him and vows he will regret his actions to continue he will regret his actions while he continues to breathe life into mortals, and she will take them into death. She basically says, like, I'll take 1,000 humans a day, and he goes, well, I'll create 1,500.
So they just start back and forthing life and death.
Right.
That's
so
cool.
that is literally the way in Shintoism that they kind of establish the life and death kind of
like
cycle.
Like basically this epic lover's quarrel of sorts.
Literally.
Wow.
Which is pretty baller.
That's
just from
pretty
like a
baller.
mythological standpoint, but then also when you think of Izanami and Izanagi.
Yes.
For instance, Izanami is the one where they're constantly wrapped in a loop.
Right.
So
yeah.
The loop of life and death.
Mm-hmm.
And in the show, actually, they use it as a plot device to teach Kabuto like a lesson.
Like you basically have to figure out the error of your ways to escape said loop.
Right.
Interesting.
And so you can kind of make that parallel to the story where, you know, the error of Izanagi's way here is that he could have just, you know, trusted his wife and, you know, been a little more patient.
Right.
And they could have both walked their happy asses out of Yomi. And then also Izanagi in the show is used primarily as a deterrent against or negating like a serious injury that one of the Uchihas would get.
Right. Basically a way to oppose death.
Right.
Entirely.
And so in a lot of Itachi mentions this, like in a lot of the early battles between Uchihas, they would constantly be using Izanagi against each other, and it ended up being a battle for whoever could get the most favorable outcome for themselves.
Right.
And it would just like blind entire portions of the clan. Right,
because one would then use Izanagi, and then to counteract it, to use Izanami, and then it would just back and forth it to counteract each other. And I love that he is so good at packing all this into a story that still feels like, if you didn't know any of this, that's still really cool shit.
Right. He does a very good job of making these myths like dope as hell for this.
Right. It's funny you bring up Itachi, because he, after reading more about the mythos that surrounds his power set, he is so dense in and of himself as a character, but I wish he would have stayed that way. Just as a side tangent, these powers were supposed to be exclusively to Itachi, but then by sheer matter of power scale runaway, Sasuke got a lot of these powers, and then, you know, when one Uchiha got it and a brother Uchiha got it, then to match him, another Uchiha had to get it, and then you had these literal gods running around the battlefield. But originally, these powers were supposed to stay with Itachi. Now, there are 3 brother gods.
Okay, that's actually the next portion of the creation myth.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, after he left.
Okay, yeah, rip it up.
He was like, he felt like he was covered in like nastiness because he was down in hell.
Yes. Perfect.
And so he goes to wash himself in a river, and as he's walking to the river or whatever, he's dropping clothing, and that's turning into gods and stuff like that.
Yeah, no kidding.
In a lot of these myths, Zeus did something similar where he'll cry or he'll sneeze or something like that.
Or he'll bang someone as a goose and then just boom.
Yeah.
Demigods.
All right, fine.
Not a joke. That's literally a thing.
I know. But like Athena, for instance, which is like the god of, you know, war and wisdom, the female god of that. I think she like literally came out of his elbow or something.
Yeah,
like it was just something wild like that. But anywho, so he goes into the river and he's crying and he's sad, and he kind of washes his face, and from his left eye, he creates basically 3 new kami, and from his left eye comes Amaterasu, the sun god, from his right eye becomes Tsukiyomi,
Mm-hmm.
which is the moon god. And then as he's blowing his nose at the end, comes out Susanoo.
Okay. So to put all this kind of in perspective, and Susanoo is the wild god of sea and storms. And all these gods as a triplet are brothers. Now Itachi, like we said before, Mangekyo Sharingan have very specific powers to the users. Sometimes you have one working in like one power kind of working in conjunction, like you have like Kamui in Obito. But in the case of Itachi, his left eye is Tsukuyomi, right? And this power, often equated with the moon, it's a genjutsu, so basically an illusion so powerful that he can make you experience entire
His
years.
right eye.
His right eye?
That was a mistake.
Dang. So his right eye, Tsukuyomi, it allows him to cast an illusion so powerful that basically you can feel years and years and years in minuscule fractions of a second. It's incredibly powerful, and it's uncounterable in a lot of cases because by the time your real self knows that you're under genjutsu, you're already experiencing decades or centuries. And oftentimes the world he creates is accompanied by the moon. And even the infinite Tsukuyomi requires the genjutsu to be reflected off of the moon.
Right.
So that's really cool. And Amaterasu in the other eye is also one he gave to his brother Sasuke. And what it allows you to do is conjure black flames that cannot be extinguished by anything. And it's said to burn for 7 days and 7 nights. Now, when he has awoken both of his eyes, Mangekyo Sharingans, he then can use a power called Susanoo, which, like I said before, is kind of this astral armor that you can project insane offense, even more insane defense. And the reason why it's very interesting the first time we see the Totsuka blade with the Susanoo of Itachi, who also has eyes named after his other two brothers, is because he was after basically Susanoo inherited his father's sword, which Izanagi actually used that sword to kill his newborn son Kagasuchi, and he then uses that same sword to kill an 8-headed serpent called the Yamata no Orochi, aka Orochimaru, in the series. And he is shown in the scene that he kills him in the show with the Totsuka blade as an 8-headed serpent. Could you get more of a direct parallel than that? There's so much packed in that space.
Right. So I actually wanted to quickly go through the story of Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi really fast.
Yeah, sure. Because I'm curious.
To kind of explain why they're not in the same eye, essentially.
Okay, interesting.
So this was like a really, really weird part of the story. So after the creation myth and then these three kind of come up, obviously Amaterasu is like one of the head deities within all of Shintoism.
Right.
Basically, just think about it. She's the sun goddess, and this is the land of the rising sun. You know, there's literally a sun on their, flag and stuff like that. So, like, obviously, she holds a pretty high esteem within the pantheon.
Oh, yeah.
But she's very, very vain. She's extremely strong. She's extremely like strong, brilliant, beautiful, smart and all this stuff. But she's like got a lot of vanity.
Why don't you marry her? Jesus. I'm just kidding.
Honestly, if how they explain her, dude,
she's kind of a smoke show, almost literally.
10 out of fire, reeking dead. No, so it's a really weird story. So you're gonna love this.
All right, I'm in. I'm locked in, kids.
So they actually get married, Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu. They're siblings, but not. Like, it's weird because they're gods, you know what I mean?
So you're telling me that there is a brother-sister relationship in Japanese mythos?
For sure.
Okay, let's go.
Which kind of explains a lot of the weird
That's
stuff
all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
No, so she really loves humans, and she does a lot to help them.
Okay.
And Tsukuyomi is obviously extremely powerful as well.
Right.
He's given, domain over all of, night. She's given domain over day. And then Susanoo's given water and like weather. And so he's kind of like a trifling little asshole. But Amaterasu is extremely vain. And so this story actually is about one time she is invited to one of the older kami, the kami of food and harvest or something like that.
Ooh, like, is it a party situation?
It's literally like like if you're a queen, you might have to go see like nobles.
Oh, I was really hoping it'd be like a
Or
like
vice versa.
a swanking banger of a party.
No. It's literally like a one-on-one type thing.
Okay, fair enough.
And so Amaterasu is kind of whining to Tsukiyomi, saying how busy she is and all this stuff. And he goes,
girl.
I love you so much. I'll go instead, and then you can do whatever you got to do.
Okay.
So she kind of like tricks him into going to this dinner she didn't want to go to.
That is some wifey shit right there. That's really funny.
So Tsukiyomi goes to this dinner with, I can't remember the goddess's name. It was extremely long.
There are so many gods. So many gods. Truly.
And she's kind of taunting him, but she's like a what I would consider a more normal person. She's not like all high and mighty and like bullshittery, because she's an older goddess and she's like lower level.
She's chill.
Yeah, she's like honestly broing down.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay,
and
into that.
she's like taunting him about, Amaterasu obviously like,
yeah, right. Tricking your ass to get here.
Yeah, tricking him and like, all this stuff. And he's, still treating her with like a lot of respect and stuff like that. So she finally goes to start making them food.
Dope. Okay.
And it's really weird how she does it.
Ethan, how does she make food?
So for fish and sea creatures, she actually yarfs them up onto the table.
All right.
Just wait. It gets way worse.
There will be... Okay, you know what? I'm not going to say it. I'm going to let you say it.
And then for the second course, she gets up on the table, removes her clothes, and takes a dump on the table to make all the like livestock, deer, wildlife, stuff like that.
So you're telling me...
And he is so disgusted, he kills her.
Wait. Hold on. We need a play-by-play on this one real quick, because what he is seeing at a dinner he never wanted to be at.
Yeah.
He got tricked by his wife to go to.
Yeah.
Not really knowing, like, they're probably gal pals, right? And they're like, hey girl.
Really. Not really.
Okay, fine. It's just like...
It's like when you're the queen,
hey
like,
girl.
people have to come see you regardless,
Right. So this guy goes into the queen's abode, and from the view of his table, takes a little lean back, see how the sausage is made, and sees this queen of a god just...
No. She's just a normal god. I'm saying,
so,
like...
Okay. So this woman, this
like, he's
lesser
already disgusted
god.
with her because she's lesser.
Oh. So then, to show that she is capable of cooking this godly feast, she yarfs up fish, she yarfs up maybe some caviar, and then decides, what would go good as a pairing? I know. Gets on the counter, drops trow, lays down the land creatures of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit style.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Extra salt.
And he, so grotesque by this surf and turf of the worst kind, absolutely comes to the
surf
kitchen.
And burf.
Burf and shit. It's gross. And he goes into the kitchen and says, I ain't having this. I'm an actual, real god. Shanks her ass. Possibly actually her ass. It's at like height level. And what happens then? I'm sorry, I just had to break it down. So what happens after he kills Miss Surf and Turf?
Yeah, so he actually killed her and then flayed her. It was like, honestly, like ridiculous.
I have a better idea for dinner.
No, he like really went in on her. And then he goes back to Materasu and he explains what happened. He's like, look, bro, she literally took a dump on the table.
And then she's like, look, bro.
And she goes, well, you've, dishonored us, essentially. She says, like, I'll always love you.
Babe, you didn't see what she did in that kitchen. Like, you weren't there.
She's like, you're ruining our reputation here as, like, head gods in some regards. And so she basically says, from now on, we will never occupy the same space. And that's why...
They're in different eyes.
That, as well as sun and moon are
Holy
in different
shit.
times of day.
Holy shit. And Amaterasu is probably black in the show because he's tainted the reputation.
I don't know about
I'm
that.
calling it. That's a wild story, dude.
I know.
Holy shit.
I know.
Wow. Okay. I'm reeling it back. But that's a really interesting definitely a long walk to get there, but it's definitely an interesting way to go about it. I mean, another fun fact too about the Totsuki blade and the Susanoo thing with Yamata no Orochi, that the reason why it's carried in Itachi's Susanoo inside of a gourd is because it's a reference to part of that myth. Both there's something called the Hyoten Kozo, which is a gourd spirit in Japanese folklore, but it's also probably a reference to the fact that to lure the Orochi monster into a space where Susanoo can kill it, he lured it in with gourds of sake to get it drunk enough to kill it. So that might be an interesting, and he basically trapped him in the gourd, and then once he did, he could slay him. Again, super densely packed. Just that one, I think the reveal of the Susanoo to the capture of Orochimaru as the 8-headed serpent, I think is like maybe like half an episode's length, like maybe 10-minute span. And right in there, you have so many references that now you guys have this huge understanding of all of the mythos behind it. Lord knows I'm going to look at that scene different. And after this camera death, we will be seeing pictures of certain myths from here on out.
Well, so there's a little bit more to that story you just mentioned.
Okay, sure.
Which I think is a little bit interesting. Hopefully more than that. So, at some point, obviously Tsukiyomi and Amaterasu have now broken up, and Susanoo is just like this trifling little asshole. And he whines and he's like killing crops and like just messing with humans.
Kind of storms do what storms do.
Yeah. And so his dad tells him, come up here, Izanagi. Says, get your ass up here, bruh, and let's start chatting. And he goes, well, you never let us go see our mom, so I want to go down and, talk to her. And he goes, okay, you're banished from heaven. And
wow. Very extreme reaction, Pops.
He basically begs to go be able to talk to Amaterasu and say, like, this is my last day as a god. I just wanted to, see you off and wish you well, essentially.
Cool.
So he tricks his dad. And then he goes and literally battles his sister for, like, a long time.
Interesting.
And they're both dumb strong. So, like, imagine they're fighting and, like, the world is being...
cataclysmized. And
exactly. Yeah. And there's like a lot of imagery with like what she puts on to battle him, but I didn't really write all that down.
That's totally fine.
It whatever.
It's already thick.
Yeah. So, they end up battling and he gives up because he's not making any ground. But what he does instead is just torment her. So he basically, she has this hall where she's got these looms where she's like weaving like life essentially.
That's, again, God's just being gods, dude.
Yeah.
Dude.
her life-giving looms or something like that.
Oh, hot.
So, he's destroying the world and she's like reweaving, that part
as it
of the
goes.
world
Oh, nice.
And she's got maidens helping her and stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
So she like basically banned him from her area and says like, you can never step in here again after he basically quit that battle they were having.
Right.
They had like some contests and shit and she actually cheated. And
of course she fucking
so he
did.
got pissed off, and this is why this whole battle thing happened. But he throws a horse into her house, busts her looms up, kills all her maidens, and then sends her into a tizzy, and she goes away.
Busts up them fucking loons.
And so she like leaves the world.
God.
And then
get out of my room. Okay. It just leaves the world.
The rest of the gods are all pissed off and they literally like torment Susanoo when she finally comes back saying like, you effed this up for us.
Yeah, fuck yeah, you did.
GTFO. So they take away his godhood and they send him down to Earth as a man.
Oh.
Yeah, instead of going to Yomi, which is still like a godly realm, they sent him down to Earth to become a man and just kind of live out his life as a man. So he learns like all the shit he was doing to humans.
Right.
So like when a storm comes by and crushes his rice field, he feels bad about it. And he's starting to like feel
empathy.
Yeah, empathy for humans.
That's awesome.
And then that's the beginning of that Orochi story, as he's now at this stage in his life, he's called Susanoo the Wanderer.
Okay.
And so he's sort of just like this Ronin type dude walking around, and he comes up to a town where they're getting attacked by this dragon Orochi.
Hell yeah.
That eight-headed dragon. And everything you said about the sake and all that is totally right. And then when he kills him,
yes,
he's cutting off all the heads while he's drunk, and then he goes through all the tails as well. And in the fourth tail, his sword gets stuck on something extremely hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens to be a Totsuka blade of sorts called the Ame no Murakomo no Suragi, the heavenly cloud gathering sword, which later in life was renamed the Kusanagi no Suragi, which was the grass cutting sword, which is so sharp it was able to cut a blade of grass.
So this sword, while it got a name shout out in Naruto. It didn't have this huge lofty aim or goal or, status, but it was the name of Sasuke's sword that he had in most of Shippuden. Basically, all of it from the time you see him all the way to the end. It's just the name, the sword of what's it called again? Help me out with names. Kasa.
Oh,
yeah. I believe in you.
Kusanagi no Suragi.
Kasanagi's, yeah. So this is actually,
but he received that in the show from Orochimaru, which is funny because
there you go.
In the myth,
yeah,
he gets it out of Orochimaru's body.
That's really cool.
And then he uses that to gain his godhood back by giving it as a gift to Amaterasu.
That's super cool. It's in researching that particular sword, turns out it is thought of, it's all but confirmed, but they think they actually have that sword in Japan somewhere as a part of a set of real-world items called the Imperial Regalia of Japan. There is that little curved gem crystal that's like almost like one half of a yin-yang symbol. It's like a curved jewel that is...
I've seen that.
Yeah.
What it is.
And the last item in all of that is the Yada mirror, or the Yada no Kagami. And it is a sacred mirror that is part of this set, and it's said to be housed in the Ise Grand Shrine in Mie Prefecture in Japan. Now, if you are a Naruto fan, ding, 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 the Yada mirror is the shield that Itachi Susanoo wields in conjunction with the Totsuka blade and the gourd, and is said to block any physical and astral attack, which is, again, how do you pack more shit into one guy? Like, he just has all of the lore. He has all of the mythos. So it's, again,
the cool thing about the Yada mirror is not only does it do what you just said, but in other shows like One Piece, it's referenced as one of the admiral's abilities. So one of the admiral's devil fruit is light ability.
Oh, yeah, the guy with the weird earlobes, right?
Yeah. So when he does his teleport ability, which basically him bouncing around all over the place, it's like Yada no mirror or something.
Ah, that's cool.
And so he bounces his light ability all over the place to like teleport.
That's really, really cool.
It's rad, I know.
It's so fucking rad. We've been really harping on the Uchiha stuff here. I mean, and it's obvious that the Uchiha possess a lot of the high-level abilities in this show. However, there is another power set in the show that has a very in-depth feel in a lot of religious practices, and that would be the Rinnegan, or the eyes that Nagato possesses, Madara comes to possess later in his life, and Obito possesses briefly. And these Rinnegan eyes actually have an absolute boatload of powers contained within them. 7 technically, but 6 main ones. And they are actually based on the 6 Buddhist paths of reincarnation. Each kind of path of the 6 of the Rinnegan, these 6 paths, are named after one of these paths of reincarnation. I'll go through them briefly. I think it's more interesting what they do, but then I'll give you some context about, what they do. And 2 of these are considered hellish, 2 of these paths are considered heavenly, and 2 are considered mortal. And we're going to start at the very, very, very bottom. Very bottom. And the Nakara path, which could be one of my favorite paths. This is the one that, Ethan, you said had the big mouth of King Edma.
Yeah.
And it's in Hinduism, it's considered a place. The Nakara path is a place where souls are spent for atoning for their sins. And Yama is the Lord of Justice in that, the King of Hell. and he puts living beings after death for appropriate punishment, for example, boiling oil and a lot of things. But if you lie to him, canonically, he will rip your tongue out in the belief system. And the funny thing is the power of the Nakuropath.
Get wrecked, bro.
Yeah, the power of the Nakuropath is basically it will conjure up the head of King Egma, and it will slowly pull your actual tongue out in the show and will grab it. And if you lie, it will chop off your tongue and you will presumably die. That was kind of the assumption, is that you would die, yeah? Yeah. So the other one that I think is so over-fucking powered that it's unreal is the Pretopath, or also known as the Hungry Ghost Realm. It's a reincarnation based on strong possessiveness and desire, which were cultivated in a previous life or lives, and the Preta themselves are actually humanoid creatures that are perpetually hungry and thirsty and are unable to satisfy themselves. So the Pretopath in Naruto has the ability to absorb chakra in any ninjutsu in an endless hunger for that tasty, tasty chakra, which,
of course,
again,
yummy.
literally the most OP shit. Like, you can't be touched at that point. Do you remember what the human path does, actually? This is the one that of the 6, I didn't remember this one and I had to look it up. So I'm curious if you remember what this one does.
TBH, I don't remember any of these.
This is the one that can rip souls out of people.
Yeah.
And in doing so, he instantly reads their mind, but your soul's already out, so you're fucking dead.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So
what's the point?
What's the fucking point? So the human realm, also known as the Menusa realm, is based on passion, desire, doubt, and pride. It's believed that the human realm is a form of birth most likely to obtain enlightenment, both through the availability of information and teachers, and the ability to reason without falling victim to obsessive aggression. But the availability of information is key, because that's I always thought that was a weird side power, where sucking out the human soul, yeah, that seems pretty fucking human path. But the ability to gain all the information of the person you're sucking the soul out of, that right there, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the parallel. We're here now. That was the weakest one to me, but then I finally kind of clicked. Like, I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense with the mythology, and like us as massive fans of Naruto, we're just like, okay. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
And until you did the research, I'm like, okay, that's fucking cool. Animal path is pretty explanatory. Animals.
Ruff, ruff.
Boom. Woof, woof. Chirp, chirp. But this path in the show can conjure probably the most powerful summons you can in the whole show, right?
I mean, it seemed like it pretty much deadlocked with the
which one?
Toads of Miyabuku.
Oh yeah, well yeah, but there was that one dog that every time you killed it, it basically split, kind of Hydra style.
Yeah.
Cerberus Hydra style, and then we get into the more interesting paths, the heavenly paths, the ones that have a little more meat on their bones, if you will. So the Asura path, it's a plane of semi-divine, like demons. I keep looking at the camera like it's still on. in which people are reincarnated in doing actions based on jealousy, struggle, combat, or rationalization in a previous life. And though powerful, live in constant violence and conflict where there is no peace or resolution. So basically, it's also drawn from a Hindu and not Buddhist, where the Asuras are a people purportedly having the ability to create magical equivalents of modern-day ballistic missiles and lasers called Astra. And remember, this was created many hundreds and thousands of years ago as a concept, right? So then thinking of biological missiles and lasers in like millennia ago, that was the most interesting thing for me. But again, that's a very obvious callback to the Asura path in Naruto, where they can shoot
missiles out of their hands.
Yeah, they literally can just turn into mechs, like low-key mechs, which is pretty fucking rad.
It's a little rad, I'm not gonna lie.
And we're gonna get to the Big Daddy realm, the Big Daddy path, the Diva path, the one that everyone knows the pain for. It's a realm that is sometimes also referred to as God's realm, because compared to humans, its inhabitants are so powerful that they can be compared to deities. However, being born into the Diva realm are still subject to reincarnation. They suffer from pride and the knowledge that their long lives and powers will not prevent their inevitable death. Now, this I find interesting, given Naruto's usage of it. He mainly uses the Diva Path and the body that inhabits it as his main outlet to exude the most powerful of the paths, which is essentially telekinesis at the highest caliber. And he wipes out a whole city with it casually. No big deal. No big deal. And one that I actually knew this off the top of my head from watching some old videos, there is a seventh path. And if you're thinking, well, if there's 6 paths of reincarnation, what's your only option, right? Boom, you're out, aka the outer path. So in the show, after Naruto was given one of Naruto's powerful speeches, he was convinced that Naruto could bring peace to the ninja world and then employs the outer path, which, by giving up his life, he revives everyone that he kills with his powers of pain, aka reincarnation. But he escapes his own kind of 6 paths in and of itself by, relinquishing control or embodiment in the 6 paths. They're all gone, and then he reincarnates everyone with his own power back to the path that they were without any consequence of maybe rising to a different path or something. So this show is not just actually, Shinto and strictly Japanese. It's also Buddhist and Hindu, which, again, hats off, man.
Right. So my last thing for the Buddhist thing is, in Hunter x Hunter, the 100 type wanting Bodhisattva.
Yes.
So that is obviously Hindu.
Oh,
and
very.
It's that massive golden statue with the 100 hands that Netero can summon with his Nen ability. Well, our boy Hashirama Senju has a Bodhisattva as well, but his has the name of, and this is like its legit name is Shinju Kanon, which is Kannon.
Okay.
And it literally is just like exactly what his thing looks like, but the name, like the moniker it has, is Kanon of 1,000 arms.
Perfect.
And so the actual manifestation of his wood clone, is that massive statue with 1,000 arms that comes out of the ground that he summons.
And just beats ass with that sucker. Holy shit.
I mean, it's just honestly, it's really cool to finally do this because, I mean, without looking into all these things, it might just seem like a random, thing that Kishimoto decided to do, right?
Right.
Or a random power he thought up.
And like we mentioned before, the more we do the show and the more anime we watch, I guess just by our own inundation of it time and time again, we start to see the parallels. And in some shows, they take the time to teach the lore that it's coming from because it's more directly tied to the story. So after a while, seasoned anime fans are going to see something and be like, okay, I know where this is from, right? But a lot of times, sometimes you just got to do the work or, listen to a podcast that'll do the work for you. I don't know. I can think of one off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I know for me, this has given me such a greater appreciation of the work and the research it goes in for these mangakas to create these worlds and these power systems that harken back to some stuff that really is deep in human history. So,
yeah. And so this was a lot of fun for me. I think it definitely harkens to the roots of what we wanted to do with the show.
Absolutely.
Kind of research deeper, get a deeper understanding of a lot of things anime. If there's other topics and stuff that you for sure want us to hit up, definitely flop us an email or DM us on Instagram, whatever. Twitter's open as well.
But and hey, what?
There's obviously mythology throughout lots of anime, which we obviously mentioned. We could even do an updated episode with, some things we missed in Naruto, and then potentially some other, shows if that's interesting to you.
Yeah, if you know a show that's very lore heavy, drop us a line, give us kind of like a starting point, and we'll start researching. And you know what? If this, we want to know you, because we've been kicking around this episode idea for a long time, and I am so happy we've got to finally do it. But if you want us to see us like rip shit about anime, like drop us that too. We're here for you guys. If you found that interesting and want more of it, we are more than happy to give you more of that because this was really fun and somehow, finally, educational. Finally.
Yeah, but like you said, if you guys like everyone didn't like it, like we'll definitely not do something like this again if that's the case.
No, actually, we're gonna do it 3 times as hard. This is the only thing we're gonna do.
Yeah,
now.
You know what? It's for us.
It's for us. We're not even doing it for you, but we love you, students, and thank y'all for coming to this particular class. If you want to listen to us on YouTube, I'm waving the YouTube gang right now, but all you're seeing is probably a picture of me waving in my past because I'm just gonna pull it off Facebook or some shit. And or if you just want to listen with your ears and not your eyes, check us out on Apple, Google, Spotify, Castbox, Stitcher, or anywhere else you get your podcast fix. Hit us up on Instagram, DM us no probs at Weebology.podcast. We got memes on news. Hopefully, maybe by the time this one comes out, it'll be a little less COVID and a little more fun. But you know what? We're gonna rip you some COVID memes anyway, because that's the world now, baby.
Because they're kind of funny.
They are kind of funny.
Also, if you'd like to leave us a review on any of the podcast platforms that allow that, please do. Specifically, Apple is the homie.
Yes.
5 stars will help us a lot.
Thank you.
Get out there to more people. Hopefully, at some point we'll have some community type things where you guys can all talk. All the Weebology homies can have chats and stuff like that.
Some very light foreshadowing on something like that in the near future, my friends. Just saying, hit us up on Twitter, WeebologyP. I hope Ethan doesn't change it because I really like that name. I really, really do. And like we mentioned before, if you want us to watch a show, if you want to tell us what kind of episodes you want to see, we are always open to your email, weebologypodcast@gmail.com. I think that does it for all of the plugs. And, go get yourself some learning. That was fun. Learning is fun.
He's still looking at the camera.
I'm still looking at the camera, whatever. Until we get the camera fixed, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Ethan.
And this has been Weebology. Deuces! Staring right at it. I'm staring right at that camera.